how has your show changed since you went from being local to being syndicated?
I think the biggest thing, well, I mean, I guess at first what it was, we were like, oh, well, now we got to watch out on certain, because the times are all different, you know, like we'll be on mornings in some cities and afternoons in some cities. So it's weird, like the little things you have to watch out for. Like you can't say, hey, tonight, this is coming up at 8 o'clock, because obviously it could be 9 o'clock in whatever city you're in. So I think that was one of the biggest things at first, just trying to localize without localizing, but not sound extremely national, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
So I think that was one of the just toughest things. Overall, though, I mean, I think I think one of the biggest things like about our show that I think we've kind of pride ourselves on is that it's not super celebrity driven. Like we're in Phoenix, and yeah, a ton of celebrities come through, but we've never made the show truly about that. Like the show is more so a transparency type of, I guess, almost like a reality radio show in a sense. Like everybody has their own lives going on. We share them completely. And I think that's why the listeners are so connected. So it's not too hard because we're not talking about a ton of timely events. It's more so just our lives, you know?
Interesting. So speaking of the fact that it's like a reality show, how did you choose the people who help or who are on the show with you every day? How did you choose your team?
It's changed a couple of times. And I mean, finally we're at a point where I think everybody, like, this is the team, you know, this is the squad. I think some people didn't want, like, I guess they didn't like the syndication idea. They more so wanted to do the local thing. Some people that we had before were younger and wanted to focus on school. And I mean, you know, in radio, it's one of those things, to me, it's either in your blood, like in your DNA, or it's not. You're either gonna put your all into it or you're not. And then just pretty much that just means you're not cut out for this team. And that's not in a disrespectful sense. It's just, you know, like I've done this since I was 13. Like this is what I live and I breathe. So I've got to have it. Whoever's on the team has got to match that. So Nicasio, he was just a mixer at the radio station that I was at the time. But he was that guy that was in the hallways, always just making everybody laugh, saying whatever was on his mind. Very unfiltered, very opinionated, but he always got a reaction out of people. And so one day I was like, man, just come be on our podcast. And from that one episode, I knew I was like, this guy needs to be on the radio. I guess no one ever saw it in him. Because he's a very talented mixer, like one of the best I've ever come across. But when he would talk on the air, it was just song introductions. So I'm not sure why nobody kind of saw that and tapped into it. Luckily, I did. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of where he came about. Now he's one of my closest friends, and he's definitely just, you either love him or you hate him. But I always tell everybody, every TV show, every movie always has a bad guy. He's our bad guy. So that's where he came. And then Raquel, we did a national search. So we flew people in from everywhere, Boston, San Francisco, I mean, all over the country. She was the last person to send her stuff in, and she was actually the closest to us. She was in Tucson. Wow. And she didn't win. We actually went with someone else, but there was something about Raquel that we knew we wanted. We couldn't figure out what it was yet, but we're like, you've got to just stick around. And she did. We told her, look, we can't pay you, but we can give you an opportunity to just get your foot in the door and be around. And she did that for about 6 months. She moved to Phoenix from Tucson. She was bartending. So she'd bartend till like 3 a.m. And then she'd come do our morning show with us at 6. So she would just leave the club and sleep in her car and then come do the show. And she was doing everything, whatever she could. If we had remote, she'd come on the streets with us. If we had interviews, she'd be there, answering the phones, whatever it was. And then the girl that we ended up going with actually decided it wasn't really a good fit for her. And once she took off, I mean, it just made all the sense in the world to give it to Raquel. She took it, ran with it. And I mean, she's been with us going on, like 2 years now, 2.5 years.
How long did Raquel have to work for free?
About 6 months.
Oh, wow. That's not too bad. But that's commitment. Like, at least you saw she was dedicated.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for anybody to, you know, she was doing that. And I think a couple other random jobs. Like, she'd go back and forth from Tucson and whatever she could to just try and get money and then come do the show. And like I said, she'd sleep in her car or stay at her friend's house or whatever it was. And the crazy thing is she never complained, ever.
Wow. Yeah, you found a good one just for that alone.
Oh, for sure.
Was it always a goal of yours to become syndicated?
Yeah. I had before I got syndicated, I had went out to LA to interview for Power 106, and
For the morning show?
this was before that. This was when Jay Cruz had just moved to mornings.
Okay.
So yeah, he went from nights to mornings, and so they had a night position available. So I went out there, interviewed, and then I didn't have an answer back from them yet. But my PD in Phoenix, in his eyes, he was like, he's gone, he's got it. And so he's like, what can I do to keep you here? And I was like, I don't know, man. You know, LA's always been the dream. He's like, well, what else do you want? Like, what else is the dream? And yeah, I told him, I was like, man, I would love to be syndicated. He's like, listen, let's figure out a way to make it work. I can get you syndicated. And I took his word for it. He was the first person I feel like to really believe in me and kind of let me do my thing. He wasn't this like crazy manager that it's my way or the highway. Like he let me be a talent and create the way I wanted to create. And then he would definitely coach and find ways to make good things better. But I think that's like the most important thing as a PD is to let your talent create and then find a way to make their good better or their best better. You know what I mean?
Did you believe in yourself at that time?
Yeah, I did. I just, I mean, you never know. It's like you always have these goals and dreams and ambitions, but then once it actually starts happening, it's kind of just unreal. Like I'll get texts from people now in different cities and they'll send me like screenshots like, yo, I just heard you in Nebraska. And it's just crazy to me.
So cool. Like over 60 markets. And when did you first launch as a syndicated show? How long has it been?
Almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in January. So 2.5 years now.
Okay, because I always see it's the fastest growing syndicated show. So now I get it. Like those are huge numbers for such a relatively short amount of time. So congratulations.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, I sit down and I'll try and compare the numbers and see different shows and how long they've been doing it, how many markets they have. And it's just crazy. One of the like most like surreal moments of my life, we were sitting, it's right when we got on Real 92.3 in LA. And we went out there just to kind of sit down and meet everybody and hang out. But I've known Big Boy for a while. And so he invited us in to be on his podcast and stuff. So we're in his studio and he's interviewing us and it just didn't make sense. And he's kind of like, so break it down. What's going on? I know your show's doing good. And at the time, I think we were like 50 cities. And I told him, and he just stopped in the middle of the interview. He was like, 50 cities? 50 cities? What? He looks around. He looks at his producer. What are we doing? Come on, man, step it up. And I'm just like, this is insane. Like, it is like moments like that are so crazy to me. Like, to me, like a moment like that beats meeting any celebrity. Like, that's why I started the podcast and everything like that. Like, to me, the radio personalities are the celebrities in my eyes.
That's exactly one of the questions I had for you because, you know, the fact that as a syndicated talent, you do have so much access to national celebrities. What was it that compelled you to focus on radio talent? Because a lot of times people are trying to expand their brand with podcasts and not everyone cares about the industry the way they care about celebrity.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. I mean, I think I'll just like, we'll do something like we'll hit some type of accomplishment. And in my eyes, I'm like, oh, I wish someone would ask me about this. Or, man, I'd really like to talk about this because this is cool. But it won't happen. And I was like, there's no way I'm the only one that feels like this. Like, I don't care how big you get or whatever. I mean, you know, they always say you got to give the flowers while you can still smell them.
Yeah.
And so that's how I feel. Like, you have all these personalities that, like I'm talking to Bobby Bones tomorrow. And Bobby Bones is from a town smaller than where I'm from. I'm from Lubbock, Texas. And population at the time was like 150,000. Bobby Bones is from a town of like 750 people.
It's Arkansas, right? Somewhere in Arkansas?
I believe so. Arkansas or Kentucky? I got all my notes at home. I got to go over it again.
Yeah,
but,
somewhere small, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 750 people, that's crazy. And so it's like, yeah, he's written books and everything like that. But still, I think it just comes different from like when it's one of your peers that's really into it and they ask about it and kind of get a dive into it. I don't know. I think it's just a different appreciation.
And I love the fact that, you know, as a quote unquote rhythmic top 40 personality, you can appreciate what this country personality is doing, that, you know, it's bigger than formats. It's really about what he's doing in radio and how huge that is.
Oh, for sure. Well, even outside of radio, like you look at like American Idol, I think at first when he had jumped on it, he was just, he he was on it, but he wasn't like promoted on the billboards and everything like that. And then in just like a year or short amount of time, whatever, this season, he's all over the billboards and in the magazines and everything, and then Dancing with the Stars. And people that can find a way to take radio to another level and not leave radio, like that's just the biggest thing to me.
So with you, what are some of your aspirations? Because you do have this national footprint because of syndication. What are some of the things that you want to do outside of radio?
Outside of radio, I mean, I've got like 3 different ideas for like a TV show concept that I want to do. One kind of reality based, one kind of fake reality based, and then another one more kind of talk showish. So it just kind of depends. But I definitely want to get into TV, and not even so much TV, but I like an original like Hulu or Netflix or Amazon series, like something like that.
Smart. So
I definitely want to get into that. But I feel like I'm not forward thinking too much. Like there's still so much to be done with the show. Like we want a primetime placement in LA. You know what I mean? Right now we do the late night show, which is still a blessing. I don't downplay it. I mean, it's late night in Los Angeles. People are awake. People are out. So I love it. But I mean, we want to really create that footprint. So I want to definitely eventually get a primetime spot in LA. So that's something that we're really focused on.
How did you end up with Yay Networks?
Phil Becker, from Alpha Media. He had syndicated our show in Portland, and he just really believed in it. We just hit it off with him, and he knew that Yay Networks was looking for for a new show, and he just kind of recommended it. And then we were at one of the summits in LA, one of the radio summits, and he just set up a meeting, and we sat down, and it took probably, I don't know, half a year to lock it all in and figure everything out. But what they did with it, because again, I'm from Texas originally, and so their other property is the Kid Craddock morning show. And what they've done with Kid Craddock is just amazing. Even after he passed away, this show is still one of the highest rated shows, and they're syndicated in over 70 something markets. And so that really stood out to me. And then on top of that, they were just, once we sat down and talked, I mean, they were just the best group of people. Like they're the ones that they could have signed us up and owned everything, and they actually didn't. Like they sat down and coached me on business, and I started my own company. And I mean, it's crazy. Like they're truly about the talent, the personality, and not the ownership, which is, I think, unheard of.
Wow. That doesn't even sound like a real thing, but that's good to know that it still exists.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's beautiful. Like that's why it doesn't even feel real sometimes when I think about everything. Like legit, I get to work with my best friends. They're employed under my company. So we turned Tino Cochino Radio into an actual company. We don't work for a radio station. It's weird. It's like in radio, it's so hard to find stability. And I think we're one of the few shows or products or whatever that actually has some stability. We're not too, I mean, knock on wood, but we're not too worried about it. We know that we're good at what we do, and we're going to continue to create engaging content. And I don't know. I mean, yeah, knock on wood, this keeps going for a long time.
So, okay, when you talked about the show running in different day parts in different markets, was that originally the concept, or did you just kind of evolve to fill the need of potential affiliates?
Yeah, initially, no, that wasn't the goal at all. We just wanted to be a night show. We're like, look, we can do the morning show live in Phoenix, because we were at a different station at the time. Because now we do nights in Phoenix at iHeart, but at the time we were at a local station and we were doing mornings. And so we're like, look, if we do mornings here, we can send that show everywhere same day. They can have the night show, and then it all works out. And then the show started performing really, really good in these different markets. And basically, the PDs were like, look, the show's too good to be on at night. Like you're doing more than what our morning show does, or you're doing more than what our afternoon show does. We need to move you. And I mean, we're not going to fight it.
Right.
We humbly accepted. And it's just that's kind of been what's happening in several markets. They put it on, it works, and they move it up, and it works. And, it's just kind of been like a domino effect.
Now, when you said you're doing more, what were some of the things that PDs were recognizing that you were doing that other morning shows weren't doing?
I definitely think that social media is a big part of it because, I mean, you know, there's so many outlets for music now. I mean, it's just a fact. You can wait on the radio station to play it, or you can just pull out your phone and go to Apple Music, Spotify, whatever, and look it up immediately. And so we were like, look, if you're not going to hear us on the radio, you're going to see us on social media. And the stuff we do on social media ties to the radio show. It ties to the radio station. So in a sense, the station's still going to stay top of mind, or you're at least going to come across it at some point. And so, I mean, I want to say we produce over 300 videos for social media only every year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Now, okay, the videos that you create for social media, do you make those available to affiliates too, or are they only on the platforms of the personalities from the show?
Yeah, no, that's the thing. We give everybody access to it. So we have a main folder where basically once the affiliate gets signed up, they get access to the folder and then they can jump in, and it's super turnkey. I mean, they're literally labeled, all right, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever's in there is scheduled for that day. But that's the thing. They can then go in, download it, and post it directly to their site.
Oh my gosh. It's so basic, but it's like so many people don't do that. But it just it's the best, most powerful marketing tools you can give a station.
Oh my, and it's free.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? Like, just create it and put it out. And
Yeah.
the crazy, I mean, we definitely pride ourselves on quality. We have a full-time videographer that's on board and everything, but at the same time, the quality necessarily doesn't matter to everybody. I mean, you see some of the things getting millions of views are very mediocre. Like the quality is definitely subpar, but to the viewers and listeners, they don't really care. They just want content. I think that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of people just get, I don't know, intimidated or think I don't have what it takes to make it, but it's just about the creativity. I really don't think it's the quality, to be honest. As much as it should be about it, I think we're just at a point in time where a lot of people don't care. So I think creativity can outweigh that if you just add some initiative to it.
Absolutely. So how would you I know you kind of touched on the fact that like you're definitely aggressive with producing content, but how would you describe the social media strategy for Tino Cochino Radio?
I think our biggest thing is just, again, it's just about, we want engagement. You know, we don't want to just post something and get a view and keep it moving. Like, we want to try and create some type of conversation. And again, that's why a lot of it's based around what we're talking about on the show. Because perfect example, my fiance had Amazon ordered a pregnancy test and tried to hide it because she wants to like surprise me. And I found out about it. And all we did was post a picture of that holding up the test. And we said, tune in Monday. But we already knew the engagement's going to be crazy. So everybody's on it. Oh my God, why did she hide it? And so, you know, people's trying to start drama. Is she cheating on you? She don't want you to know it's a baby. And it just turns into this whole thing. But again, I mean, it's just, we're trying to just tie the two together. The three, our live, the radio show, and social media. You put it all together. I mean, people are gonna react to it.
How do you know that line of, you know, showing too much? Is there a line for you guys?
I mean, I'm sure there is. I don't think we've found it yet.
Okay.
I think I always tell the team, like, there's no way I would steer you like down the wrong path. You know, I'm not, if you look bad, then you're going to make me look bad. I make the show look bad. We all look bad. There's no point in that. So I think they trust me enough to know, like, just let's do what we do. And when and if something feels wrong, we won't do it. But I mean, yeah, I don't think we push it too bad.
Okay. Is there any advice you would give to talent who are local, who are trying to get to where you are and be a syndicated personality?
I mean, I think the biggest thing first is just to really, I don't want to say perfect, but really craft your show. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to know. It's weird. It's like a feeling. Like it was like when we were first doing the morning stuff in Phoenix, the engagement was so crazy with the calls and when we were on the streets. I mean, I remember this one time this girl came up to me and started crying. I didn't know who she was. She walked up to me and started crying and was like, oh my God, I heard your story about your dad the other day and I don't have a relationship with my father either. And oh my God, she just in tears. I never met this woman before. And I was like, okay, this shows that we can syndicate this thing. Like, we're making actual connections. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, don't just focus on the celebrity news. don't just focus on, you know, the latest Kardashian story. Like, you've got to find a way to build an emotional connection with these listeners, whether you make them happy, you make them mad, you make them sad. I think that's the biggest thing, is just forming some type of emotional connection or finding some way to evoke emotion.
How did you learn that?
My business part. Well, so he was my program director originally in Phoenix, and then things became so good. He stepped away from the radio station and partnered up with me full time on the syndication. But Mikey Fuentes, he's like an OG. He's been in the radio game forever, and he's done everything from nights to afternoons to mornings. I think he's just had really good people around him. I know he's definitely respected among other PDs and stuff in the industry. And like I said, he really just kind of put me on game. Like, he knows how to sit down and literally, like, we could be in a staff meeting, and instead of just telling everybody one thing, this is how it is, he can go to each person and tell them the exact same, you know, story, but in a different way to relate to them.
Oh, wow.
And I think, that's what it comes back to on the radio. You know, I think that's why it comes down to having such an important team. We could be talking about the same topic, but we all need to have a different point of view. I'm going to cater to someone different than what Nicasio is going to cater to. Raquel's going to hit something different than what anybody else in the room is going to hit. So I think that's the biggest, again, it just comes down to that connection. Like, he knows how to make a connection with everybody in the room, with that staff. It goes back to the same thing on the air. You've got to make the connection with the listener. And I guess just kind of practicing it in real life as well helps you do it on the air.
Do you guys ever discuss politics? Why or why not?
Not really. If it's something just crazy, I think what we'll do is we'll bring it up, but then more so make it an open platform for the listeners to call in and kind of get their opinion across. I feel like a lot of people keep it bottled up, or they don't want to say it to, you know, sometimes you don't want to say certain things to coworkers. You don't know how they're going to react or how they're going to take it, or even with friends, you can mess up relationships. And so with us on the show, I think they know that it's kind of like a free space. They can call in and make up a name if they want, but they can vent and say what they want. And then again, they're going to evoke emotion with somebody else listening that doesn't agree. So then they call up, and then they're able to say their thing. And then it just kind of turns into, you know, like an open dialogue, which I think is healthy.
How have you guys addressed the whole COVID situation on your show? Since that's not really your thing, but it's something that affects everybody.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, for that, it's kind of easy because literally, everybody's going through it. So even our parodies, we were like social media stuff. We were shooting videos in my house. We were doing quarantine Olympics where we had Raquel and Nicasio had to, like, the stupidest games. They had to down a bottle of water. We recorded for social media. Whoever lost had to create an OnlyFans account. And so Raquel lost, and so she had to create an OnlyFans account for her feet. And then she's posting feet pictures and stuff. And she ended up getting like $250 or something out of it. And then she donated it to help feed families and stuff. So, you know, we turned something weird like that into a positive.
The video of your dog, like,
Eugene, bored in the house.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, you know, I think everyone's just going through it. So that's one of them things that's really easy to talk about, you know, because that's just kind of what life has been for the past few months.
Right. Another thing you do on social media that I really like was the TCR Fit Tips. Is that something that you guys incorporate fitness into the show on air as well? Because I see that all of you guys have an interest in wellness and fitness.
We'll talk about it here and there, not too much. Just again, like, it kind of depends. Like, let's say we usually post them on Thursdays. So on Thursday, we'll be like, listen, man, if you've been working out at home, this, that, and the other, Raquel's got the easiest workout for you. We're going to tell you about it next, whatever. And then come back and kind of talk about it. It's not like we don't have like a health segment or anything like that. But I mean, we'll definitely touch on it and then direct people to social media. So that way, if they're interested, they can see it. And then if not, we don't waste their time with a 2 to 3 minute break about it.
Got you. Is there one legend in radio that's influenced you more than anyone else?
I mean, it's got to be Howard Stern. I feel like that's everybody's go-to answer. But I mean, I could like listen to his channels all day and just get it. But I mean, again, because he's like he's the perfect example of evoke emotion. Like, he knows, and transparency. He's very transparent with his entire life. And the exact same thing for his whole crew. If you listen to his show, you know, Robin went through cancer, you know, that Gary messed around on his wife, you know, I mean, all these different things. It's like you tune in for that. You don't tune in for the music. You tune in to hear what they're talking about. You tune in for the crazy, whatever bits they have going on. You tune in for the interviews. And I think that's why you hear so many artists and celebrities, when they go on his show, they praise the interview process, because he doesn't interview them. It's a conversation.
Right.
It's just, let's talk about this, let's talk about that. 9 times out of 10, they don't even talk about whatever they're there to promote. They just talk about life and whatever else is going on. Right. And before you know it, an hour's gone by and you're like, damn, that was good.
Right. Now, is there someone in radio that is someone where you feel like they're going to be a future star, who is like maybe doing overnights or maybe a part-timer, somebody who people kind of like you, before you became a syndicated talent, if only they knew or listened to you, they'd realize that you're someone who's going to be influential in the business for decades to come?
I mean, I just interviewed her on my podcast last week, Ashley on Air. She's based in Houston. But this girl, man, like I was telling her, I don't even remember how I found out about her initially, but I just know that I was seeing her name everywhere. It was on every tweet, Instagram. She was in the comments. She was doing something. I'm like, who is this girl? And so I started looking into it, and then, I saw she was doing a thing in Houston. And then I would see her on like freaking the Shade Room with the Baby and all kinds of stuff. And I'm just like, man, like, this girl is really finding a way to get out there and get her content out there. She always was recording something. Travis Scott would have a concert in Houston. She's on stage with him. Like how do you get that access? I think she's definitely a hustler. And I know she's been doing it for a while, but I feel like right now she's really just kind of starting to bubble. They just put her on in Atlanta. She's on in New Orleans. So, I mean, she's one of the ones that definitely, I guess, first comes to mind for sure.